So this is different. I I can see you, Nate.
Lucky you.
What's that all about?
Well, I guess we've decided to sort of bring something a little bit different to our esteemed viewers now.
Literally, viewers, if you're watching this now, this is we're still going to be available by audio, but for those that are just listening on audio right now, this is this month's Patreon exclusive edition of the podcast. And Nate and I have been talking about some things. We're going to go through all this as we go here, but we thought, you know what, let's try out this video platform that we're going to tell you all about, and we'll toss that up at Patreon, assuming Patreon will allow that, and I think they will, and just see how this works and play around with it a little bit, and in the meantime, kind of give our patrons a view of what Nate and I have been talking about quite a bit here recently, and something I've been thinking about for a long time, and I think discussions with Nate have kind of brought me around to, hey, let's do this thing. And so I'm excited about it. So Nate, you ready to give this a shot?
Let's rock and roll.
All right, let me just kind of, I want you to jump in anytime you want to, as I can kind of give an idea of how we got here. First of all, we're doing this by video. If you're not watching, for some reason, I'm wearing orange and blue right now, which is ridiculous. But I've got the two best football teams in America, the Virginia Cavaliers, who are actually only good if you compare them to the Atlantic Coast Conference Coastal Division, and FC Cincinnati, who are only good if you compare them to your local high school team. A team that's actually good is the Cincinnati Bengals. I got to get some Bengals gear back here because they're playing great. Big win today over the Ravens. Anyway, so we talked a while back about, and I'm not sure I really conveyed. Also, this video, I really should have shaved. This is really not good, Nate. What's this is really working.
We don't have any makeup artists in the budget.
Yeah, we get to get that in the budget at some point. But at the end of the season, with the whole season was frustrating in some ways. The team was fun, but the season was frustrating in some ways just because of the Bob Castellini nonsense. And then this stuff happened with Cal Bodie after the season, and I just, the Reds going in a different direction. And I thought, oh, do I really want to do this for, the next little bit? And the truth of the matter is, Nate is the one that talked me into sticking around and keeping this thing going. So yeah, it's your fault. But your thoughts were, why give up now? We need someone that's going to be out here kind of speaking the truth about what's going on while also being a big fan and coming at it from the fans' perspective. What were your thoughts about why we should keep this thing going?
That was exactly it. I mean, it's sort of the argument that if we give up now, they win. And we can tell by, most people in the media aren't going to be honest, be upfront, and sort of tell it like it is with some of the things we're seeing with ownership in the front office. And I think now more than ever, that fan kind of needs a voice. And, it's not all doom and gloom, of course. Like, we still get to have a great time and have a fun community here. But I think to sort of walk away now would be doing a disservice to the fans who care in a similar fashion to us.
Yeah, and that's that's a big reason why we decided let's keep this thing going, and not only keep it going, but see if we can't kind of raise the ante a little bit. The other part that Nate just alluded to there is that this community that's kind of grown up around this podcast. Look, the fact of the matter is, I have fun doing this every week. I enjoy talking to everybody that's on here, and I enjoy talking to all the family, what we call them, Slack, and some of you even outside of Slack, being able to talk to you. It's fun, and so whatever. Let's give it a shot and see if we can't put more effort into it than the Reds are putting into the product they put on the field. So that shouldn't be too difficult to barter across, right?
And I do apologize for my makeshift background. We'll be raising the stakes there too. This is coming together pretty quick.
Yeah. Nate's got microphone. We're going to working on this. Actually, you see, not to mention, I do have a fancy little background back here, and we're going to get one from Nate as well. But that kind of goes into what we're doing here. I've told you we're going to rebrand the podcast. We're going to relaunch in it. And the fact of the matter is, the season's over. There's not a whole lot going on for the Reds right now. There's some things we want to talk about today, Reds related, and baseball related. But we're going to take just a brief hiatus from the actual podcast. I'm gonna replay the Building the Machine series that Bill Lack and I did. So we'll put that in the regular feed for those of you that missed it before. You get a chance to check in on that. but we're gonna rebrand and be ready to launch very soon, hopefully. Certainly, our goal is around the time the winter meetings come, we're gonna have some stuff to talk about. We may come back before that, depending on how things go. But if you're watching this on Patreon, we're going to have a video intro to this. It's going to be, it'll be on YouTube. It's going to be on Facebook, Twitter, places like that. But the audio podcast, the way you've always listened to the podcast, is still going to be the same, exactly the same. We'll keep posting to the same feed. It'll be the exact same thing. Just if you want to watch it, the kids these days, Nate, they like the YouTubes. Did you know that?
Your kids are the ones that taught me this. Try to take somebody to the movies or something, or watch TV with them. They're like, well, why would I watch the television?
Exactly. What does that even mean? Yeah, the kids these days, they love the YouTubes. They love the rock and roll music too, I hear. Oh, that might have been 50 years ago.
No dancing allowed, though.
No dancing allowed. So anyway, this is the first part of it, is that we're same podcast you've always had, except that it's going to be video, available by video as well, for those that like that. And this platform that Nate and I are playing with here has a lot of functionality that we're going to be able to have some fun with, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Patreon settings going forward, because those are going to change a little bit. And I want to give you all plenty of advance notice so you can make a decision whether you want to change your tier, stay where you are, leave us. That's fine as well if that's what you feel like you need to do. I'm always just kind of can't believe that you all would willingly join this family, but so we'll talk about that a little bit in a moment. But the biggest question I got for you, Nate, is: are you ready to be a video star in Red's world?
I was always told I had a face for radio, but we're going to see if we can't get people to stick around long enough, even though they have to look at our ugly mugs.
One of us has a face for radio, and it ain't you. So the first thing I want to go ahead and mention is that as we go forward, I have, I've talked to Bill Lack and Chris Garber and Jason Linden, the typical rotation of, I talked to Doug Gray as well. And the idea is that I don't want that to change. I want those guys to still be around, and they have indicated they want to still be a part of this. And that makes me happy because I have fun talking to them. But this video technology that we're using can make it a lot easier for me to moderate with more than just 2 people. So we might have 3, 4 people even some weeks. We'll see how it goes. And I got to be honest here. The big reason why I'm finally taking this leap here is I've got somebody to help me with the back end of this. So Nate, thank you.
I do what I can, and I think it's good that you brought that up. My favorite podcasts certainly are not the ones that I get to come on. It's listening to these other guys, Chris and Doug and Bill and Jason, all these guys that have helped you over the years, and they're still going to be a huge part of this. And it's amazing that they were willing to, just say that they wanted to come and continue to help out. And you don't have to worry that I'm going to be monopolizing the airways. It's just sort of a where it gives us a backup if emergencies happen. We can keep the podcast coming regularly and just be able to come at it from all angles instead of you taking the brunt. Yeah, that's going to make us. I think it's going to be a lot better product ultimately. Just a little bit help on the back end and also on the front end, since you're going to be the pretty face of this project. But yeah, I like the idea that I wouldn't want to change if those other guys weren't willing to, and I hope they're all going to be willing. They've indicated to me in the past they have been, and we've been talking a little bit more. But I don't want the kind of irreverent nature of this show to change, because it's like one of the highlights of my week is just talking to my friends about the Reds, and we goof around and we laugh, and Jason will make fun of me for whatever reason, or Bill will rant at the clouds, and Chris and I will talk about Simpsons quotes, things like that. So I want that to stay, but I like the idea that we can kind of expand it and have more than just, because really I was just having them on. And this includes you as well, Nate, here recently as well. I didn't want to burn anyone out. So I was basically trying to do a little bit of a rotation when people were available. And so now we're going to be able to say, listen, if you're available, you can come on. We don't have to do this rotation. And just pretty much anytime you're available, feel free. We want to have you. And so I think it's going to be a lot more fun for us and allow for better conversation. I hope. Basically, what I'm saying is I want more people to talk other than me. Can you help me with that, please? Only if I have to. I don't think anybody wants to hear from me. But,
no, that's not the feedback I've been getting. So, do we want to talk about kind of what we're thinking in terms of specifics, in terms of Patreon? And I am going to open this up this particular podcast. You know, we have a Patreon podcast that's available to those at a certain tier every month, and I'm going to open this up for every patron this month. So everybody's going to get a chance to see this and hear this if they want. If you're a patron at, well, I don't have to tell you where it is because you're already a patron if you're hearing this, so you know where to go. I promise I'll shave or else I'll let it grow out like really long, one or the other.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah. You want to talk just a little bit about, you and I have gone back and forth, and you did a lot of work in terms of trying to formulate what might be good, goodies for our Patreon subscribers. And let's kind of just go through what we're thinking right now. None of this is set in stone.
Right.
None of it's set in stone, but we want to give you some ideas of some of the things we think we might be able to do that we've not been able to do before. Is that fair, Nate?
Absolutely. And one of the, this whole thing, it's going to be centered around that logo you can see behind Chad's head, the Riverfront. That is, I guess that's what you've been calling your newsletter, your space for a long time, and that's going to be the name of the podcast and stuff going forward. But when I first got asked to be a part of this, I was overwhelmed with the amount of engagement from your Patreon subscribers, the Slack channel, and we wanted to find ways to just make it more worthwhile than a subscription that gets you a podcast and some extra conversation. We wanted to find ways to really make it worth people's while if they chose to do so. So we came up with several tiers. I think we have 6 in total. The first one, and Chad, please jump in whenever you feel free. Like you said, these are not set in stone in any way. But the first tier is $2. It comes with a heartfelt thank you and a firm handshake if we see you in public. And it gives you access to that Slack channel that has been just fantastic. The conversations that go on in there. Let me tell you, spoiler alert, if you're not in the Slack channel and you would like to be, watch Ted Lasso. I think it's required.
Yeah, and this is similar to our current $2 tier, I guess. And it's a really important thing. I think this is how the community has started to grow a little bit. And it's just that you show you want to support the podcast, but you also get to join this crew. Let me just reiterate this one thing though about these tiers. We've said both now that these are not set in stone. This is not exactly how it's going to be. I promise you, before I make the change, before we switch over to whatever the new tiers are going to go, you all will know first exactly what they are, with plenty of time for you to make your decision about what you want to do on this. Okay. I think that most of this is going to be roughly equal to what we currently have. We're just adding a few new kind of bonuses, a few new goodies. So the $2 level, and maybe, well, yeah, let's go ahead and we'll say that the $2 level is basically the same thing that we are doing now. And the next level up is also similar, right?
Right. For just a few more bucks, $5 for tier 2. We get one of my favorite little running gimmicks on the show, a beer league softball shout out.
We're not stopping that. This beer league team is getting too big.
That was in my contract. It had to happen. So what were you going to say?
I was going to say, we haven't given you a position on the podcast or on the beer league softball team. You got to be one of the coaching staff, I guess, like me.
We'll make that that's a benefit for tier 2. You get to choose my position as well. Tier 2 subscribers are going to get priority for viewer mail questions.
Can I say here?
Yes, please.
This is the most exciting thing about this whole thing to me is that it will actually be viewer mail. We will actually have viewers for the first time in almost 400 episodes. So it's exciting to me. I don't know. I'm excited by very little.
That's little things in life. But yeah, each tier does include everything for the previous tier. Probably don't have to say that, but might as well get it out. Tier 2 subscribers will also get an early ad-free podcast. I don't know that there's any sort of designs for having ads anywhere. I know you've mentioned not wanting to do that, but in the event something like that happened, those tier 2 guys and above are going to get that podcast early, no ads. And one that I'm pretty excited about is a bi-monthly Patreon only podcast video. So once or twice a month, we are going to try to get on here and shoot from the hip and do it just for the Patreon subscribers.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting about this platform we're using is that it's going to allow for a lot more engagement. We could even do this live sometimes, maybe not every time, but we're able to do it pretty easily. Now, I want to mention as well about the ad-free podcast access. What I envision is, first of all, I've had inquiries over the years for ads, and I've kind of not done it yet. because I don't know. I just haven't wanted to dive into that just yet. There may be a time in the near future when we do go that way. But if so, we want to make sure that our patrons get access to the podcast without ads. So I think that's fair enough. The other part is, we record this podcast in general when we're not doing a live podcast. When we're doing our regular podcast, we record it and I schedule it to be released. So my intentions is that would be that once we make this switch, that as soon as the podcast is ready at different times, because it depends on when we can all get available. We've been doing it on Thursday nights, and I've been setting at the release basically Friday mornings. I'll go ahead and make it available immediately to patrons if you're interested in it. I don't know if anybody's really desperate to hear the dulcet tones of Chadwick Dotson early, but if you are, that's kind of the idea behind that. Let's make it available to you all as quickly as possible. Before we go to the next tier, I also want to say, Nate, I would encourage each of you. You can reach out to me personally if you want. You can send me a direct message in the Slack channel, or you can talk about it in the Slack channel. But if you got thoughts about all this, if there's something you don't like, something you do like, particular, something you can think of that we haven't mentioned that might be a good, gimme for these things, let me know. Because again, we're working out the kinks now, and now's the time to let either me or Nate know.
Please. We're gonna be welcoming all kinds of feedback because we're gonna need it. This is a new venture for everybody involved. So please give us any of your thoughts. Some of them we might think are awesome and we'll take them. Some of them might be ridiculous and we'll kick you out of the Slack channel. But no, I think the Slack channel is plenty of evidence that you can get away with a lot.
Yeah, no doubt.
The next tier, all of the above plus a specific Twitter ad and shout out. This is not going to be very appealing for myself. I don't think anybody cares if I add them on Twitter, but people tend to think I think someone told me that you were a good follow, Chad. I don't know how you feel about that.
It's a lie. Only former girlfriends think I'm a good follow. Wait a minute. I just accuse somebody of stalking me, I think. I really hope my wife doesn't watch this, but I know she's not going to. She hasn't listened to any of the 398 episodes previously, so why start now?
She'll start now. The third tier also comes with Patreon exclusive written posts. I know a lot of fans of the podcast, fans of yours, really seem to enjoy your writing, and I think that this will give you an opportunity to do more of that instead of just the write for the Cincinnati magazine. You can.
Well, me? I thought you were writing these posts.
Whoa!
What's going on here? No, yeah, it's just a little extra content, a little more discussion about the Reds in between podcasts, essentially, right?
Right, exactly. The last thing on tier 3 is an official the Riverfront membership card. I don't know why we are so excited about this, but it's one of the things that's the biggest kick. I don't have any examples handy to sort of show you, but we're coming up with a nice, solid, actual card that you can put in your wallet or not. Throw the trash can if you want to, but that's sort of the first gift that we're going to be giving out for some of these tiers.
Yeah, the membership card. I don't know if any of you are aware of this site called UniWatch. It's people that are obsessed about uniforms and things like that. And I read it not really obsessively, but pretty closely for many years. And still, I follow them on Twitter and check it out occasionally. But that's something that was really popular there that we thought, that might be a fun idea. Let's have an actual membership card for the family. And so we're working on designs for that. We'll again, that's early stages of that, but I thought that might be fun.
Yeah, and I think for all the following tiers, you're going to see that we want to give something physical to all of our patrons, and that's the first one. The next one on tier 4 is going to be everything that we just mentioned. So you still get the membership card, but also a Riverfront logo cold drink koozie or cozy. I'm not even sure how you say it.
It's a koozie.
Koozie's how I always say it. Somebody called it a cozy once, and that's how it's spelled apparently. I don't believe in this weird science. But yeah, we're gonna have a Riverfront koozie. Probably my favorite perk, at least so far, is a Patreon only, viewer mail only podcast. So we're gonna try to do it once a month, and it's just so much fun getting to go through all these viewer mail questions, and to have a monthly podcast dedicated only to those. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm pumped.
Yeah, this is in addition to the regular podcast where we're still going to keep doing viewer mail because, again, we're going to finally actually have viewers. Sorry, Jason London. And so just an extra viewer mail podcast, because the fact of the matter is those viewer mail segments have, they've gotten longer and longer because you all give such great questions. And I feel like I got to do it every time because it's fun. That's to me, I don't know how it is for the listeners / viewers, but for me, it's as much fun as anything else we do on here because you all come up with some goofy questions sometimes. And so if we do just one with just viewer mail, we can get a little bit crazier, a little expand it a little bit, and have more than two people discussing them. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, that's a big one. And then lastly, on tier 4 is discount on merchandise. We are coming up with, hopefully, down the road it's going to be quite a selection. But from the get-go, we're going to have T-shirts, maybe some hoodies, like I said, the koozies, all kinds of little things that we're going to have for to give people the opportunity to support what we're doing here, and it'll all be based on the Riverfront.
Yeah, and you don't have to buy any of this. If you want to subscribe at a tier, you get it, good. But I have had people over the years say, "Hey, I'd like to get where can I get a T-shirt or something?" Just a number of times over the years. What about some merch? And so Nate's putting some real work into putting together a storefront for us. And it's we're not going to be hawking merchandise again. We're going to be very respectful of you, as I think we have been the entire time this podcast. I really haven't tried to pimp the Patreon as much as I should have if I really was trying to maximize revenue. That's not what we're trying to do here. But we have had people ask that, and I think I'd like to have a podcast T-shirt as well. So I don't know. I think that'd be fun. And at this level, again, as you start going up, you'll get some merch when you subscribe. But the opportunity for anyone to have whatever the merch is. And again, Nate's working hard on it. It's going to be a pretty wide selection eventually once we get everything up and running. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of cool things. And like you said, it's not going to be something that we're going to be pushing on people and spend hours every week trying to convince you to go get this, buy this. It'll be there if you want it. And if you subscribe, you'll get some stuff for free. And it just gives us another way to sort of reach out and be able to be in touch with the community.
Yeah, I mean, if you've listen, we're almost 400 podcasts into this thing, and if you know nothing about what I do, I tried to push my book on you a little bit there for a while, but mostly I just made fun of my book. I'm not out here trying to extract as much money from you as I can. I really hope that I have earned your trust on that point at this point over the years. We want to put out a good product that's fun, that's fun for us, that's fun for you all, and I think we've done that so far. And we want to keep doing that. So once we start talking about merch and, rebranding, it starts sounding like a big business, some kind of nonsense. We're going to stay the same. At least that's my goal. If we don't stay the same, I don't want to do it, frankly, in terms of the kind of the way the podcast feels, it feels intimate, I think, to our listeners, viewers. I don't know. I don't want that to change, but we're going to add some stuff around the edges, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, and if you're worried at all, just know that one of our highest priorities is going to be to get a Sell the Team Bob line of T-shirts.
Now that we may push those on you. Sell the team, Bob. Sell the Reds. All right, so the next, again, these are all works in progress, but the next tier, Nate, you want to go ahead and run through that?
Absolutely. You'll get everything that we have mentioned before. This one will come with a Riverfront logo hat, maybe a T-shirt. We haven't decided yet. We also will put your name in the credits at the end of the show. Something pretty exciting on this one is people for Tier 5 will get priority for live show tickets. So I'll let you run with this, but there is some rumblings about some live podcast episodes happening in the future.
I have been in talks. Not specifics yet, but at least two local Cincinnati establishments have reached out to me and said, "Hey, if you ever want to do a live podcast, it might be, we'd be happy to host you." And it's something that I really, really want to do, and hopefully as often as we can do it. I can't guarantee it extremely often, but it's something that I really think will be fun for those of you in the Cincinnati area, certainly. So we want to do some live shows, and I think we can get some good guests at this point to come join us. And so anyway, I'm excited about the possibilities of that, and we'll certainly priority for those live show tickets, or maybe a discount. We'll figure that out on the price of the ticket, something like that, in terms of how we'll work that out. But I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And I think it sort of shows, one of the things that we're trying to do with this, relaunch, this rebrand, is it's, make any wholesale changes, but just find as many ways as possible to bring you all content, and being able to do it in person, right outside of a ball game. That would be, it's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah. Just to hijack this just for a moment, Nate, but, I started Redleg Nation, back in 2005 of all. That's hard to believe at this point, but I launched it along with Bill and Bill Lack and Chris Garber were kind of by my side during that process, early days. Nate was like 4 years old, and we kind of built it from the ground up, basically. And Jason came in pretty early, so it was a fun process. And I'm not really involved in the day-to-day of redlegnation.com. And by the way, I have talked to Doug extensively, the fact we're rebranding and we're not going to be although I'm going to miss Redleg Nation Radio, almost 400 episodes of that, but we're still going to be at Redleg Nation. Every post is going to be published at Redleg Nation, just like it has been. But in 2010, so we've been going for 5 years, and had kind of found a niche, I think, a little bit. I'm still very proud of what we built at redlegnation.com, and that it still continues to be a source of really good Reds content. But we had a couple of times we'd get together at Great American Ballpark, and one of those was they had what they call a tweet up at the ballpark, and so a bunch of other people showed up as well. But we had a bunch of people from Redleg Nation show up, and not just the writers, but the readers. And I got such a kick out of getting to meet so many of you all in person. And the same thing happened when we were doing our little mini book tour when the book launched. Just getting to meet so many of you in person. So we're going to try to find ways that we can do more of that, because again, not because I think you all are desperate to meet me or to meet Nate or to meet Bill or to meet Chris or Jason, but because for me it's fun. I enjoyed it. I never had a bad experience meeting any of you all in person. So we're, again, part of this process is trying to find ways we can engage more, but it's a little bit selfish in that it's fun for me as well. And you're going to find that as well, Nate.
It's always better to have a beer outside the ball game with somebody else. If you're drinking by yourself, then, let's just say it's not as fun.
It's just sad. Yeah.
Also in Tier 5, we have a couple other really cool things. One, a signed copy of the Big 50. I don't know if anybody wants your autograph, but we're gonna make them have it.
If you don't already have it by now, I'm a little upset with you, fam. I just gotta say, I'm a little upset with you if you don't already have the Big 50.
But one of the coolest things is, after a year at Tier 5, assuming we haven't burnt this thing to the ground by then, we will make a donation in your name to the Cincinnati charity of your choosing. So that's a pretty exciting little perk.
No, this is one that you came up with. I'm a little disappointed that I never thought of this, really. But I don't care about anyone other than myself, so that's why. But yeah, again, this is not about can we drag in as much money as possible. How do we build a community here? And part of that is we want to be a good member of the Cincinnati community, even though so many of you all are not necessarily local to Cincinnati, but that's where this thing is based, basically. So I like that idea. We'll let you choose which Cincinnati. We'll give you some options if you want, but you're a patron for a certain amount of time. Let's give back a little bit, and that's something I want to try to expand more, not just in terms of Patreon, but fundraisers, things like that. I think the more we grow this community, and you all will need to help us to do that, I think the more we can give back. And again, I think back about our buddy Bob Castellini, and the only thing he's done right as Reds owner is that the Reds Community Fund has been the real deal in terms of what they're doing in the community. It's literally the only one of his promises that he made back in 2006 that he's lived up to. and we're not going to be on the same scale as that. But I think it's very important that we give back as much as we can, because we're here having some fun, and you all are putting your dollars up to be part of it. And those, I want to make sure that those dollars are, that we're good stewards of those dollars, I guess is one way to put it. So anyway, Nate came up with it, and I was so excited when I saw that.
Yeah, that's going to be a great one. The last tier, we don't know if it's going to blow our mind if anybody even makes it this far, but everything we've mentioned, as well as a t-shirt or a hoodie, we might go up to a hoodie for this tier. Then one that I think is going to be a lot of fun is we're talking about doing a monthly Zoom, like where we're watching a game, like all of us get on there live, watch a game together, and just really have like a virtual hang, and do that once a month.
Yeah, hang out during a game during the season. When it's not in the season, maybe we'll get together for a Bengals game or something. I don't know what it'll be, but yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun to just during the game and talk and just hang out for a little bit. So now some of these, well, go ahead, finish up that tier. I think that's
on that tier is, and this one is, we'll see. I think Chad gets final veto rights for all this, but if you are at tier 6 for a year, then we will strongly consider allowing you to come on and guest host an episode or 2.
Yeah, and what's that?
So some people might not want to at all, but if you do, and I know there's been plenty of people that have brought it up over the years, but
yeah, and we may make that less than a year that you have to be at that level, or I don't know, something like that. But now that we have this functionality, this platform we're using, and we can have, again, I'm not sure I explained this well earlier, but the reason why we've really only had 2 in the past is because I've kind of been the moderator, and I find it really difficult to effectively have a conversation when I couldn't see the other person. And I wanted it to be from day one. Literally, this is what I told everyone that's ever been on the podcast. It's a conversational podcast. I just want to be a conversation. You're listening in on a couple of your buddies talking about the Reds, and it's difficult to do that when I couldn't see. The visual cues help me kind of moderate things a little bit. And Nate, you'll be doing a little bit more of this. You'll find the same thing, I think. And so we may have more opportunities to have some of you all come on the podcast. And here's one way that we're thinking about maybe, you'll be guaranteed a spot, I guess. But this platform that we're using to do this, I hope it looks good to you all right now, and we'll rewatch it as well. It's going to make it a lot easier for us to do more things that can involve you all a little deeper in what we're doing here. So I like that idea. I like the idea of doing the Zoom sessions during games. I think that'd be fun.
It's just been so much more fun than I would have expected, being a part of the Slack channel now for a few weeks. And the conversations that go on there, there's also a lot of really cool, fun, interesting people. Me and James Urban even squashed our beef, so
it's about time.
It's a super fun community, and I think having other ways to interact with everybody it's going to do nothing but benefit us as much as anybody else.
Yeah, I get busy and don't dip into that conversation as much as I want to, but I read everything. I read every single thing that's in that Slack channel, because whether it's you guys talking about playing guitar, or Ted Lasso, or just following along with the current playoff games, it's that has been that stupid Slack channel, which I just on a whim said, let's do that. Let's make that part of the Patreon. It's been the best thing, because you don't spend a lot of money to be part of it, but it's a real community, and we've I think about our buddy Risto, who bless his heart, was a valuable member of this community that passed away, and we all got together, and thanks to mostly to Joe Farsing, who really did the hard work on that, but send something to his family. I don't know. I would have quit. I would have quit if it weren't for this family, this community. And, Nate convinced me definitely not to quit, but ultimately at the end, it was, I like this group. I like you guys. And, we're going to hang out and complain about the Reds and maybe cheer for the Reds, because they've got some good players still. So it might be a good season. I don't know, but I don't know. I think it's going to be fun, right?
Absolutely. Getting to be a part of the community. And we keep saying that word community, but that is by far the best way to describe it. It's the people get on there, they're rooting for each other, no matter what people have going on in their lives. There's a lot of support in there. It's just so much much more involved in depth than I would have expected. It's not just some people ranting about the Reds. It's really grown into this like its own entity, and I think that we can do the same thing from a lot of different angles.
Exactly. Seeing your kids and they're wearing the Reds gear, or with our buddy Brian, a really good experience at the Reds game, and I don't know, it's a little bit of a deeper connection, and I appreciate it. Can we anything else you want to say about the new Patreon levels before we move on to something else here, Nate?
Not really. I mean, we've touched on everything, but please give us feedback, give us your thoughts. If you have any questions regarding them, we'll be happy to answer. We're really open to it. Yeah,
and again, I wanted to lead with all this talk because again, money is not something I like talking about, and that's not. I hope I have gained your all's trust over the years in terms of whether I'm looking to just cash in. Because if I were looking to just cash in, I wouldn't be doing this. I've lost money on this podcast over the years, no question, and on Redleg Nation, I have. But whatever, I've had fun. So I don't want you to think this is some kind of thing we're trying to, figure out how to screw you all out of a few extra bucks. No, absolutely not. So please give us your feedback. I wanted to talk briefly as we move on about you, Nate. You okay with that?
Gosh, put me on the spot here.
We're going to talk a little bit about sports movies, by the way, in a moment, because that was a good question that we had from Joe in our last podcast. Let me say this first of all as well. The free podcast every week, it's not going away. It's always going to be here. And then there may be some ads at some point in the future. I can't guarantee that that's not going to happen, but it's always going to be free. That's just not changing. That's the heart of this podcast, even if we're not named Redleg Nation Radio. But so you all noticed that Nate has he's come on board here in the last few months. Actually, I think it was last June, Nate. Was that a Patreon podcast or was that a regular? I think I can't remember now. You came on the podcast back in June, right?
Yeah, that was the you just wanted to have somebody on that had my unique perspective, a lifelong Reds fan who's really seen no success other than when I was 5 years old as a super rosy podcast. Thank you for representing everybody's faces, but that was my first one. And we had talked over the years. I didn't live in America for the better part of a decade.
Where'd you live, Nate?
I was in China.
Red China?
That's why I chose it.
I thought so, yeah.
Had some entrepreneurial dreams that I wanted to pursue. Did that for quite a while, and that's why I wasn't really around. The last several years, it wasn't that I didn't want to. I followed everything on print that I could, but internet's dodgy over there, and 12-hour time difference. It didn't really allow for me to be as much a part of the community as I wanted.
So, I think when we did it, we were actually on vacation, weren't we? Yeah. We had a big family vacation, again, and we'll talk about this more in a moment, but Nate and I are two of four brothers. Mm-hmm. Our poor mother with four sons, bless her heart.
We're the bookends.
And we are the bookends, right? Let me just say it. I'm the oldest, but Nate's the youngest. And I like that. I had a different experience than Nate. I was probably a big reason why Nate is such a big Reds fan. I hate to say that, but it's true. It's completely my fault. But I like the idea that I had a different experience than him, only in that at least I got to experience 1990. I was in high school at the time, so I at least got to experience that joy of winning a World Series, and Nate's really not going to experience that. So that's why we wanted to talk. So we were on vacation. I brought the microphone and we sat in a room and recorded, and I had a lot of fun. And out of that came some discussions about, I like the perspective of someone who has not, who is part of this, what I call the lost generation of Reds fans, who hasn't really is in love with the team, but hasn't experienced it. So that's kind of the seeds of why I wanted you to come on board and why you were willing, I guess. Is that fair? Is that a fair description?
That's spot on. The only other thing that I would, really attribute to it is, as you get older, you start looking for ways to stay in touch and to have fun conversations, and I think we found a way that we can make it happen more or less weekly for indefinitely.
The truth is, I can't. I can't understate how that much is true as well. Again, I'm the oldest brother. Nate's the youngest. In between us are two brothers that we love dearly. One, who's closest in age to me, is not a Reds fan. We'll talk about that one moment. The other is, I guess nominally a Reds fan, but pretty much indifferent, right? I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, more of a basketball guy.
More of a basketball guy, and that's been the case forever. But Nate and I have been the two that kind of clung to the Reds through all these years. Here, I guess I need to ask you this question: how did one of our brothers become a fan of a different team, and how upset are we with him, literally this day?
Oh goodness, Corey. I think some of y'all may have heard before, is a dirty Braves fan.
The Braves.
What was it? TBS. They were on TV constantly, so I guess that makes sense in a way. But I guess we'll root for his happiness to an extent. I don't know. Can root for both teams to lose.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second here. But yeah, he was closest in age to me. We're both older than Nate and our other brother, Jordan. But I don't know. I became a big Reds fan. My dad, my grandfather. I've told you all that story before, and I think Corey. The truth of the matter is, I think there are two things. Number one, the Braves were on TBS all the time. The other thing is, Corey just wanted to be different than me. And I love him. He's literally one of my best friends in the world. I think he chose the Braves because they weren't the Reds. And so, God bless him, I guess, right?
It's on brand for Corey, for sure.
So I couldn't brainwash him, but I did brainwash Nate. Sorry. If you were a Braves fan, think how many playoff appearances you would have been able to experience. Although none since have they been? I don't think they've been in the playoffs since '99. Is that true? I saw that. And I can't believe it because they were in the playoffs every year in the '90s.
Yeah, I think I saw the same stat. First time in the World Series since '99. I was like, I read that at first. I was like, oh, and I was like, wait, they got there in '99. I don't want to hear anything.
That's true. That's true.
In the World Series won since '99.
And Braves fans be like, yeah, but we lost every year except for one. And I'm like, really? Are you kidding me? And the year they won was my favorite Reds team, I think, of all time, 95. Mm-hmm. Do you remember much about 95? How old were you? You were young.
I've been 10.
Yeah, I was away at school. I was away at college then.
So. That was when I was like, just starting to follow along a little more, getting to checking the box scores every day and stuff. But like 10 years old, there's only so much info that you're taking in,
Exactly. Well, I was in college, and so before I went to college, I made you like memorize every Reds player before I left. You were like Chris Sabo, and it's embarrassing. But so I wondered how much you followed him when I went away, and so you wouldn't have. You're 10 years old. I mean, you're following them a little bit, but they're not on TV every night.
You turn on Sports Center hoping to get to see a recap, and that's about the best you can do.
Yeah, so that was my team. Who's your favorite Reds team? Got to be 2010, right?
Got to be, yeah. Your most exciting memory as a Reds fan is the division championship.
And getting no hit in the playoffs. But we say that, and we've talked about this before, I think on the podcast, but the night we went 2010, that one home game in the playoffs, that was inner circle. It was legendary. It was fun. Yeah. As much fun as I had.
Best like fan viewing experience of my entire life.
That's sad.
Electric.
It's sad though, but man, it was electric that night, wasn't it?
It was great. We lost the game. We were not mad in any sort of way. It was just like, man, just to be a part of that. And that's Cincinnati for you. It's a baseball town.
When they win,
they haven't got to root for as much as they deserve to.
Yeah, all the stupid Cardinals nonsense, And although, listen, I'm glad they lost in the wild card game, but baseball town, St. Louis. And I got to tell you, I went to St. Louis this year and I went to their stadium for the first time, Busch Stadium, and it's a nice stadium, and they got behind their team. But I'm telling you, when the Reds win, like the Cardinals do, you cannot tell me there's a better baseball town than Cincinnati. You just can't. And that night was evidence of that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So where were we? Oh yeah, World Series this year. Corey, our brother, is a Braves fan. We're admitting that publicly. Do we root for Corey's team, or do we root for Dusty Baker's team, the Houston Astros, in the World Series?
So I'm interested to hear your take. I will be rooting for the Braves. I won't be upset to see Dusty get a ring. I got a soft place in my heart for old Dusty. But I have a hard time rooting for that Astros team after everything that went down. And all things equal, I err on the side of the National League. Can't root for the DH.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Yeah. Man, this is a tough one. Again, with the cheating stuff in the Astros, yes, I understand why that's a big deal. I can't argue with it. My whole take on that has always been, I wish the Reds had been trying to cheat.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's pro sports. If you're not trying to win, what are you doing here? I'm having a hard time with this one. With Dusty Baker, I was critical. And almost all of it came down to the fact that he could not put a lineup together and was a horrible in-game manager. It's true. It's still true. But my goodness, that guy was cool. And he had something. And it's been proven with many teams over the years. He understands something about how to run a clubhouse that gets the best out of players. If he could run a team during the game, he'd be the best manager in the history of baseball, probably. But I don't know. I feel like I was unfair to Dusty, and so I want to root for him. On the other hand, this Braves team, Freddie Freeman, I love that guy. He's like Joey Votto light. Yeah, Adam Duvall, one of our guys. It's hard to root against these Braves too, right?
Yeah, scrappy bunch too. I think most people kind of wrote them off after Acuna went down for the year to see them, battle through. And I think we talked about it a little bit before the podcast, but where were they in the standings in August? See them make a run like this is pretty fun.
They were behind the Reds on August 11th in the standings, and they're in the World Series now.
That's baseball. Like you're hot at the right time. That's the stupid Cardinals.
They are a perfect example of what I've been saying for years, but certainly this season with respect to this year's Reds. You just got to get into the tournament. If you get in the tournament, you got a shot to win it. You may lose to UMBC in the first round, but you've also got a shot to win it. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Nate. I know you're a UVA guy too, but I had to.
The next season just solved all for me.
Okay, so the Reds kind of choked down the stretch this year, but if they win the World Series next year, we're going to be okay with that, right?
Yeah, the joke was by design.
Exactly. We needed the redemption story. So you're going with the Braves.
I am. I think they're a fun team to root for. I don't have any love for the franchise, but this year's iteration, I think it's a fun bunch.
I've never really hated the Braves, though. I mean, I maybe I pretended so just to make Corey mad, but I don't know. They did things very well during the 90s when the Reds were kind of scuffling a little bit. They started their rebuilding process about the same time the Reds did, and they're in the World Series now. And the Reds are really we're in flux here. So what I'm saying is we should have watched more TBS growing up and become Braves fans. That's what I'm saying on this Reds podcast.
It would have been a more fulfilling journey.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have gotten to see Joey Votto every day.
There's something about shared trauma as well.
What do they say? Misery loves company.
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess, I don't know. Maybe I'm probably with the Braves as well. Go National League. I don't know. I don't really care. I'll be okay either way, I guess. Okay. One last thing before we kind of finish this thing up. We've, this has actually gone longer than I expected, Nate. It's almost like I enjoy talking to you once a week.
I don't know what's wrong with you, but making up for lost time, I guess. When
we lived in the same house together, I couldn't wait to get away from you.
That's not true. You're teaching me the wonders of Mystery Science Theater and news radio.
Oh, he just called me out, and it's absolutely 100% true. Mystery Science Theater and news radio. God, I'm old. I got to shave. I look older when I don't shave. Nobody's listened this far, so I don't care what I say at this point. They've already quit listening. Can we talk about something that you and I've talked about a little bit, and we got into on the Slack channel a little bit, which is, I hate to say that Joe Farsing asked a good question this week, but best sports movies, non-baseball. And you mentioned, who did you mention in the Slack channel that I hadn't considered, but was a really good one? I can't
say the Program.
The Program. That's a good movie. I mean, it's not a good movie, but it's a fun movie.
Yeah. It's always my go-to answer for my favorite football movie. Nobody else ever thinks of it. And is it the best one? Probably not.
Who's in that we know? Anyone that we know in?
James Caan.
Oh,
I think.
Sonny from The Godfather. I forgot he was in that.
Omar Epps, I believe, is the running back.
Omar Epps from another good non-baseball sports movie, Love and Basketball.
Ooh,
it's a good one.
It's not just the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
He does look exactly like Mike Tomlin, but we don't talk about the Steelers here, Nate.
I don't know all the rules yet. I'm still learning.
Trying to teach you the rules.
What are some other good contenders, though?
You know, another one was mentioned. I'm trying to remember because I think you and I have had this conversation like 15, 20 years ago, but I can't really remember. Oh gosh, now I'm blanking on the name. Necessary Roughness.
Yeah.
The college football movie, Necessary Roughness. You remember that?
That was I wouldn't have thought about that movie in 10 years if you'd have given me the time. But I remember who brought it up in the Slack channel, but I immediately was like, oh yes. That was a good pull.
I don't know, I was in college, I think, and one of my buddies loved that movie. And it was not a good movie, but it was a funny movie. It was fun. I need to watch it again. I've not seen it in 20 years, I bet.
I feel like they just don't make sports movies the way they used to.
You know, why don't they? When's the last time there was a really good sports movie?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, other than boxing, which I talked about some of that in the podcast, but yeah, you know, especially football. There's not been a really good football movie since probably any given Sunday. I don't remember. Well, maybe if you want to include the Blind Side, it's all right.
It's fine.
Had the girl from Speed, but Necessary Roughness. One of my buddies in college always, and this is probably not. Maybe I should watch what I say here. This may not be politically correct in 2021. But every time my buddy saw someone who was maybe not in the best shape of their life, they quoted Necessary Roughness. Hey, why don't you put a spigot in that fat Buddha? Should I delete that? Should I edit that out of this podcast, Nate? What do you think?
This is Patreon only. Maybe we refrain from using that.
Sinbad. Sinbad was in that movie.
I think it's got to be directly tied to Kevin Costner, because whenever he's actively putting out baseball movies or sports movies in general, because Tin Cup was mentioned.
Tin Cup.
All-timer. When Kevin Costner is working hard and putting out sports movies, everybody else kind of does too.
Yeah, so we need a new Costner movie, don't we? What do we think about? What's that?
Waterworld 2. You there?
I'm here. I'm just upset that you have mentioned Waterworld on my podcast. Literally the worst movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, we got to give him a chance to redeem himself.
Oh, Costner. Okay, so is there some movie that we didn't mention on that podcast that you can think of that's a good one? There's a bunch, actually. Did I mention Ford versus Ferrari?
No.
That's technically a sports movie, and it's really good.
Did you see Rush?
Rush.
It was probably 4 or 5 years ago now, at least, but it was another F1, and it was about the I wish I could remember the name of the characters, but it was two most famous F1 guys in, I don't know, the
I didn't see it.
Or something, and it was about their whole saga coming through the ranks together. Chris Hemsworth and that other actor that I love. But
that other actor you love, is it
an F1 movie? But it was awesome.
Was it? You said the other actor that you love, was it Timothy Chalamet?
No, it was not the Chalamet.
I remember seeing that, but I've not watched it.
Highly recommend it.
Documentary about F1 named Senna, about Ayrton Senna. If you haven't seen that one, that's an amazing documentary. Yeah, no, I haven't seen that, but Ford versus Ferrari, I really enjoyed. What else? Can you think of one? Can you think of a movie we didn't mention that we should have mentioned?
There's one that we saw together live that was pretty some lasting memories called The Big Green.
The Big Green. No.
Like a goat that played soccer or something. I don't remember.
I don't know.
It's not going to make any list top.
No.
Anything.
Nor Air Bud. When you mentioned a movie that we watched together, you know what came to my mind? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You remember going to see that one?
I'm pretty sure you loved it. You had the best experience. What could hope for.
Did I? Why did I have the best experience that night? Because I took you and our other brother Jordan.
Someone might have had some bad popcorn and decided to expel the contents of his stomach onto you.
Yeah, my brother vomited all over me. It's a classic family story, and now you all know it. Welcome to the fam. Creed. Did we talk about Creed? I think we mentioned.
I think you talked about it a little bit in the Slack channel, or no, in the last podcast.
Mentioned it, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Did you like Creed? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I loved it. I
loved it.
I liked every Rocky movie except for Rocky V, which we just pretend never happened. So we live in a universe where that just never occurred. Every other one of them, I think, are completely redeemable.
Certainly worth watching. Yes.
Awesome.
What about? Have you seen this one yet? This is, I think, technically a sports movie. I, Tonya. Have you seen that?
I did see that. I was blown away. So good.
Yeah, I mean, really. Well, I mean, Margot Robbie's in it, so obviously, but
anything she's in.
That was good. I'm trying to think of other ones. We didn't even mention Moneyball. Oh, wait a minute, that's a baseball movie. That's why we didn't mention it.
That's what made it difficult. Like so many of my favorite baseball movies. Caddyshack. I don't know if we mentioned Caddyshack.
I didn't mention Caddyshack. How did I not put Caddyshack in there? That's frankly embarrassing.
Yeah, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, there's one that I'm legitimately ashamed of myself for. I mentioned Raging Bull, and everyone's reached out and told me they've never seen Raging Bull, which is amazing. But the one I'm really embarrassed that I didn't mention, I don't know if you watched this or not. You let me know. Hoop Dreams.
Oh yeah.
Documentary. Hoop Dreams. I literally. What's that?
It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
Well, I just a few weeks ago I purchased the Criterion Collection edition of Hoop Dreams, and my son was happy because he likes that movie. But you have to come over and watch it sometime when we're together. Any other you can think of that we didn't mention that we probably should have?
I think there was some conversation about The Longest Yard.
Oh yeah, The Longest Yard, good one. Wait, which one?
Adam Sandler, of course.
Exactly.
I'm going to throw out another contender, not a sport that you'd really consider, you'd think of, but Cool Runnings.
Ah,
needs to be mentioned.
Bobsled, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, there's so many. I mean, we could really spend an hour talking about. We could spend an hour talking about baseball movies, best baseball movies, and then an hour talking about best non-baseball sports movies. But I'm still pretty comfortable with my first round pick of Hoosiers.
Yeah, that's good. It's up there with Eddie with Whoopi Goldberg as greatest basketball movies. I might not be allowed back on after my first video.
I had this big plan that you were going to help me out here with this thing, man. Then you mentioned Eddie, starring Whoopi Goldberg.
There's like the one with Little Bow Wow.
Little Bow Wow. That is, I think we're almost 400 episodes in, and that's the first time Little Bow Wow's been mentioned.
It's a lot more of that grade A content y'all get to look forward to.
That's right. Sign up at Patreon. All right. What else do we have to talk about on this one? That's pretty much what we talked about. Let me tell you something. What's that? Go ahead.
We're just under an hour here, so it seems like a good time.
Yeah, not bad. Let me say one other thing. With the Riverfront, I've written my newsletter. Go to Substack, find me, whatever, if you want to. I don't care. I've written a little bit about the Bengals and long range. I think the idea is that we want this to kind of become more of a Cincinnati focus, not just Reds. And so, there may be other podcasts, we're going to grow this thing, I think. But that's only going to be if you all support what we're doing here. So I'm incredibly grateful for how much you all have supported this podcast so far. And so I hope what we're doing going forward provides some value to you and to your life, because, I mean, we have fun. I'm doing it because I enjoy it, but also a big part of it is I feel like we're providing some value to you all, and I want to continue that. And so I don't know, Nate, that's just me kind of talking out loud here about how much I appreciate our subscribers and how I want to make sure we honor that, we value that going forward. And I know that you and I've had that conversation. You're 100% on that train.
Yeah, I don't think you can say it enough, and it's important to keep relaying that we don't want anything to really change. There's just going to be more of what people are used to. Like, however you listen to it in the past, you can still do it. All that's going to still be free. We just really want to find ways to sort of, like I said, bring value and build this community as much as we can.
Absolutely. And, right here, where is it? Let's see. There it is. Go by the Big 50. The men and moments that made the Cincinnati Reds, because I need all your money. Give me all your money. Wait a minute. That's not what we discussed. Nate, buddy, love talking to you, man.
That was fun. Can't wait to keep doing this a lot more in the future.
Yeah. Hope this works out when we post it on Patreon, but love you all. Nate, love you, man. Let's have some fun in the coming years. What do you think?
Let's do it. And please, all the feedback, guys. Let us know what we did right, wrong. Love to hear from you.
Absolutely. So for Nate Dotson and Joe Farsing, this is Chad Dotson saying, so long, everyone.